What's going on, John Ballinger? We're live, buddy.
Lots.
Lots. Well, listen, before we dive too deep into this, I want to make sure that I tell everybody I've had you on several times, and it's to talk about the Payroll Protection Program, but you also, are knee deep and have very experienced in the insurance world. So I may ask you an insurance question or two if you're okay with that, sir.
Absolutely.
So let me explain to everybody. John is a business consultant, and I'll say it, and then you can clarify. You help companies get ready to sell, scale, or transition.
Correct.
I think you made that.
Mic drop.
When you came up with this, though, I kind of think you did that for simple-minded people like me that needed some rhyme and rhythm and some alliteration in there to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to help you out, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm actually sharing this to my page right now, so that's why I seem distracted. As soon as I'm done, me and you're talking. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's start off with the insurance question because real quick, I'm putting my hand up. If you're a business owner or anyone that has participated in the Payroll Protection Program, stay tuned, listen to this, share it with friends. The things have changed a lot in the last since we and John have talked. But I wanted to bring something up kind of independent of that conversation, John. It's a lot of your posts lately about insurance, the claims, the struggles locally. Can you just tell people what you have noticed? And this is kind of the catalyst from this, if I'm not mistaken, is the tornadoes and storms we had come through back on Easter
right.
time, right? Well, what's the deal? Why are you posting so much, and what's your experience been so far?
Well, I am, Clint, because I'm out in the field talking to people. I've been on the radio here locally talking about the issues people are facing with the insurance adjusters, storm damage that they have on their homes, and then the what I call the contractors or people that come in from outside, the storm chasers. They come in, take money, and run.
Yeah.
And in particular, what I'm seeing is the elderly are really being taken advantage of by the storm chasers, and they're coming in, they're getting their name on the contract, which gets their name on the check from the insurance company. Then they get the check, they can forge the client's name, and they're gone, and they've got the money. And
Wow.
So it put me out in the field quite a bit, and I'm seeing an enormous amount of what I would call fraud, elder abuse, things like that going on out there. So that's why I'm posting it.
Well, let's do this. Make sure I'll just tell people go follow your page. But let's say somebody doesn't follow your page. They watch this and they don't have time to go back and forth. Can they just contact you directly, or is there something you would like to tell them up right now to avoid that?
Well, they can go to claimhelpnow.com and fill out what I would call an intake sheet and just tell us about their issues, and we'll respond to it. And if it's something that we can just answer a question on, we'll just answer the question. But if it's something they did a phone call on, like today, I've got 6 calls that are going to have to be made to just contractors who are asking questions.
So contractors can call that too?
Oh, absolutely. The contractors are probably some of the ones that don't understand. I was given this estimate by the insurance company. I can't do it for that based on my labor cost and material cost. What do I do?
Well, I was going to ask you. So I'm glad you said that, because I was assuming this was consumer only, but we forget the contractors are consumers, and on the insurance side. So how do you help somebody like that? Do you give them tricks of the trade, other contacts to call? I mean,
yeah. Well, there's this mysterious software called Xactimate that is an industry standard.
Anytime an expert grins, it makes my navel pucker.
And
be careful.
We help them navigate Xactimate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just telling you, I got a little nervous when you start grinning like that. I've been in the market. I had an advertising agency for 11 years, dude. When somebody would go, I don't understand how to do this, I went, I do. Let me
yeah.
Hey, so let's talk about payroll protection, man. And I'm not going to keep you on the phone long because, like I said, you got 7 calls you're involved with today. So I want to kind of put the disclaimer out there. We started talking about payroll protection a month or two ago, maybe even longer, when it first came out. And we've had several conversations on video, plus you were on Marketing Mix Radio with me and Rich Mazingo. Mm-hmm. And we talked about how you had some questions because when this first thing came out, it was pushed through really quick. It was a 4-page application. You said pay attention to the last 2 pages. It was, well, how much is going to have to be paid back? Is it going to be taxed? Is it not going to be taxed? When's it due? Is it the summer we're going to have to give it back? Is it the end of the year? Blah, blah, blah. And we kept saying, and you said, the government's really good at taking money. It's not great at giving money, especially when it's created this brand new process that's never been tried before like this.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple conversations, couple changes. The last time you and I talked, you were on Marketing Mix. Now we find out that some of that is going to have to be taxed, if I'm not mistaken. Is that still true?
Yes.
Okay.
It's true.
But now I get on with you today, and before you came on, I said, hey, what's going on new? And you just kind of started going down this litany. So
I grinned again, didn't I? I grinned.
I'm telling you, damn experts, man, make me nervous. But here's what's real, and then I'll let you take it and run with it. The application started off with 4 pages. Now it's 11. There was no form for forgiveness form, but now there's a forgiveness form, and now there's amendments to the application.
Correct.
And how many pages it is? 6 pages of amendments?
6 pages. So the forgiveness application is 11 pages. If you remember that the application was 2 in information and 2 warning pages,
right.
So 4.
Yep.
Now the forgiveness is 11 pages, and the amendments to the 11 pages is 6 pages.
Well, how long is the application? Is the application still just 4?
The application is still just 4.
Okay, so I misspoke on that, but okay. So let's go through this. This is what I think is funny. Read, and I'll let you start. What do you think the biggest changes are that people should be aware of right now? And real quick, lastly, are these changes going to be retro? In other words, if you took the loan 2 months ago, do these new rules now apply to you?
Oh, absolutely. Right. Because if you remember when I talked, I said anytime the word interim is in any act or law, it means it's not final.
Yeah.
And we're still working on interim documentation. So this, what I'm even reading you now, is not final.
All right. The floor is yours. What do you think people should know? Start where you want to.
Well, so they did make it easier to use the money. So they lessened it from 75% to 60% spent on payroll, so you could use more money for others, for other dollars to be able to spend other places in the company. So, and they extended the time frame to use it from 8 weeks to 12 weeks. So there were some things inside of it that made sense. The deferral timeline to be able to fill out the application for forgiveness is December. But here's where I think, all those were good things because the employers were like, what are we going to do? There's still $130 billion in the fund that people haven't taken, which, think about that, Clint. There are people that could have access, could have gotten the money that said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that.
Well, and I think this is I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's not that they're not doing it because they don't need the money and it may not be a good gesture. They're probably not doing it because the word interim. They never know what you're saying. I mean, anytime you take a loan out that's subject to change at the next vote, you're kind of living on the edge.
That's correct. So I started reading to you before this happened. I said, I just want to read some of this amendment language.
Okay.
That I'm seeing in here. And I'm scrolling. I lost my spot.
That's okay, because one of them was about, and we'll let you read the forgiveness part of it. Are you in the forgiveness or the amendment part?
I'm in the amendment.
The amendment that I remember you saying, I'm trying to remember which one it was because you read 2 or 3 things to me and I didn't write that down. I just said, let him read one of the amendments. Golly, what was the amendment you brought up? It wasn't about being audited. That's in the forgiveness document.
Right. This one, this interim final rule is economically significant for the purposes of the executive order, and it lays out the executive order and says, furthermore, about compliance, the interim final rule economic. So SB has drafted this rule to an extent practical in accordance with the standard set forth to minimize litigation, eliminate ambiguity, and reduce burden. The rule has no preemptive or retroactive effect unless stated otherwise.
Oh, I know what it was. Real quick, you said that there was and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said that it was a little ambiguous on who gets to determine what part is.
Oh, the Consumer Protection Agency.
That's it. That was it.
They get to decide whether or not your application for forgiveness is actually valid or not.
Okay. Did I just jump ship on you? Did I go from one thing to the other?
No,
Okay.
no. It's so. But if you're just reading through this 6 pages of amendments and the executive orders and the Paperwork Reduction Act, and we talked about the Paperwork Reduction Act when we first started this, is that there's actually a full section in here that talks about making sure that we don't print too much paper with this, and the banks have to comply with it, and it's crazy what you have to go through. And then I was telling you the Consumer Product Safety Commission actually can go in and audit toy manufacturers or anyone that does car seats, things like that, and decide whether they want to forgive that money. And it's anyone that has any component to that.
Well, let's slow that down for a second. So I want to say this to you as I understand it, and you can jump in and giggle at me and tell me I'm wrong. If I make toys and I take this money and then I apply for it to be forgiven because I used the portion I was supposed to correctly, first of all, am I going to be taxed on that?
You could be taxed on it if you didn't comply with this Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Which they've left up to their discretion.
That's correct.
Okay. That's the first part. Second part is, let's say I take it, but in order for me to be forgiven, once I've asked that and filled that form out, I then opened myself up to where they could, again, at their discretion, go, you know what? That Clint Powell Toy Manufacturing Company, we need to audit them. We need to make sure they're meeting environmental standards, bookkeeping. I mean, it could be on anything, correct?
Well, we talked about that in our very first call. The 2 pages under the application pages were OSHA, Americans with Disabilities Act, the investigation and auditing that they could come and do inside the company. And people say, well, yeah, but they'll never do it to mine. Well, I can tell you, my phone rings with, you're not going to believe what just happened. And it's the phone calls with people that are being audited. I've got one on Signal Mountain today that called and said they're being audited. They've got their letter in the mail.
Really?
Yeah.
And this was from being part of this program.
That's correct.
That's very frustrating.
It's
very frustrating. When you read over the amendments, though, and I know you read a little bit, but off the top of your head, can you think of what stood out and why they had to add the amendments? What was it that changed that they had to put the amendments in there? And was this, do you think, because people were taking the money and then not spending it according to the loose rules they had put in place, or is this them just trying to put in more barriers so it's harder to navigate?
I hope Eric Buchanan's listening to this.
What's up, Eric? Shout out, Eric Buchanan.
Why did they do this? Because of attorneys.
Oh, stop it.
I'm telling
you.
It. Attorneys will draft language just like they do these insurance contracts, and I've said this for years. Attorneys write the contracts, they defend the contracts, they prosecute the contract, and the consumers pay for it. And this is easily looked at from my perspective as a bunch of attorneys have got together and said, you know what, if we write it like this and somebody doesn't comply with it like that, then we've got reason to go.
But you're on the insurance side of it. We've talked about this, and Eric is on the consumer attorney. He represents the consumer. And once the companies start hiring smart people like Eric Buchanan and you, I better have access to another Eric Buchanan or you on my side, because I don't speak Eric Buchanan or John Ballinger languages. And so if they're gonna put 11 pages, 6 pages, and 4 pages in front of me, then I better have somebody I can hand it to that can read the where thou, theest, and mostest language.
Yeah, but they do, Clint. But the thing is, remember, go 2 months back, and everybody just wanted the money.
Yeah.
Right? They just wanted the money.
Yeah.
And the government was wanting to give them the money.
They're wanting to give us more money right now.
They do. And so I'm saying, guys, don't, because the carrot they're dangling has got stuff on it that you don't even see right now. And I'm seeing, and they say, well, you're just Debbie Downer. No, I'm not Debbie Downer. I'm just being realistic about this.
Yeah. Well, and when you think back to it, the conversations we had, that first conversation was foreshadowing this conversation. And my fear is this conversation is not even close to being how it's going to end up looking at the end of it.
No.
What's your fear on this? Where do you think this could go? Worst case scenario for business owner who takes it and may find problems, other than the guy that's getting audited. That's a bad enough problem.
The IRS, because of their, and I'm gonna go back to 20, I think it was 18, when the IRS shut down for 37 days because of the budget issue.
Right.
And if you called the IRS, they said that 37 days put them behind a year. That was their words. So if the IRS has been shut down basically because of COVID for 10 weeks, what's that going to do to the IRS? And they've extended the date to file to July. The extension to the extension of July could go into 2021. And so I talked to the IRS agents that I know, and they're creating task force to go out and investigate low-hanging fruit to be able to get revenue in, because they're extending the time to be able to get tax money in.
So it's
this, my fear is they create a task force that goes out and goes after this.
well, it's like a business. It's cash flow.
It is.
They're going to go, the people that owe you the money, hey, listen, man, we can get the money from you quicker than we can the people that owe us a ton. So we'll just come take yours.
And they can create their own cash flow by doing this. Where you and I have to sell a widget or service or something like that. All they've got to do is take documents they created, find out they weren't followed properly, and then go out and get money.
So I want to understand this though correctly. Right now, I'm a business owner. I can still apply for the Payroll Protection Program.
Yes.
Okay. So I get that 4-page application. Walk me through. Tell me right now. Let's not talk to the people who have already done it. They should already hear enough to be scared. And I still wish I'd written down that first thing you read me as far as the amendments go, because that first thing was not the forgiveness. It was an amendment that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But let's talk. I want to ask you this. Let's not talk about those people who've already taken the loan. I'm Clint Powell filling it out today. Give me some advice right now of things to look for. And what would you do if I got the loan? Clint Powell applies for it. I get $75,000 for my small business. What would you suggest Clint does with that as far as making sure I spend it in the right places?
If you're getting it right now, do you actually need it, would be my first question. Or are you just getting it to get it? That's going to be my first question, because there's people now that the money's left, they're saying, like, what the heck, I'll just go get it. If I were going to get it right now and I didn't need it, I'd park it in the bank. I wouldn't do anything with it. I'd just leave it there, let this thing wash out, see what happens.
But what happens if but help me if I'm wrong. Let's say I take $75,000. I don't spend any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I give it back to them. Do I have to pay taxes on that $75,000?
Nope.
I don't. Okay, good. Okay, I was really worried I was going to get.
No.
You didn't use it. You only get taxed on the stuff you used and that did not get forgiven. Correct.
That's correct. That's what becomes the loan portion of it.
So I get $100,000. I spend 75. Right? They don't forgive 25,000. I get taxed on the 25,000.
That's correct. Well,
and I get taxed.
You get taxed. So this is another kind of a play on words. But if you remember, and I think it was Jim Place and I got into a little discussion on Facebook about this, where it was the money is going to come in and it's going to be taxed because it's going to be as a revenue. So this money becomes like revenue to the organization, and you can't write off the expenses that you used to be able to use this money to offset taxes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. I don't have to like it if I'm a business owner. Yeah. It makes sense.
So the one we Place and I agreed on, it's interim and it's ever changing, and this money is going to be you can't deduct it because it's going to be seen as like income into the company.
Wow. So if I'm a business owner, I talked to just somebody like John Ballinger, but at the end of the day, this is where I would think. Maybe I'm just giving too much credit where, to a certain profession. But if you've got a CPA or somebody that's in charge of your books, they really need to be up on this and they need to be part of the decision-making process, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
You don't need to cut them out and go, I'm just doing it. You figure it out. They need to be the one kind of giving thumbs up or thumbs down.
Exactly. And I talk to accountants all the time. And if you ask 10 of them the same question, they're going to give you speculative answers based on their interpretation of what they've heard on a webinar or they've read at this point, because it's still in a state of flux.
Are there any decisions that you've heard rumored that could happen or that you anticipate that might happen that could affect the changes where it goes from 11 and 6 pages to 9 and 14, that kind of stuff? In other words, are there more changes you think might happen?
I would anticipate, as long as interim's in the language, that there's changes already, because there are changes that they're already reviewing on these changes that are published.
But you don't know what those changes
I
look
have
like.
no
You don't
idea
know
what
what the rumor. I was trying to spread rumor and innuendo, dude. Trying to spread some propaganda, dadgummit. Help me out. Get my clicks up, dude. I'm trying to get some, just say something outrageous, which is a lie. Get Jim Place involved. We'll get Jim on this thing.
Something's coming.
So you're like Nostradamus. There's changes are happening. There's like there are changes afoot, boys and girls. Get your crap together. So getting your CPA involved, getting somebody like John involved. The last thing I will give advice on, because I deal with businesses on a different front, is and I think I might have said this to you. I've said it a bunch because I believe in it. And I've learned it personally, and I've experienced as a business owner, in other situations that were not near this intense. But pressure reveals leaks inside a business, and personally, relationships and business everywhere in our lives has had pressure applied the last 90 days, and that's 4 months. And if you're a business owner and you see the leaks, and it may be in your marketing, it may be in your decision making, your processes may have failed, customer service, but I would dare say one of the commons among most business owners is finances. Because, and you know this because you deal with businesses too, if you have enough money to go 30 days, money will cover up. It spackles holes in the wall, man. It will cover up a bad, crappy wall in a heartbeat, right?
Yep.
Until 30 days is not guaranteed anymore. Then the holes get revealed. The wave goes out and it keeps going out. And the problem I think a lot of businesses have found, again, just like personal finances, is that maybe our plan was just to live 30 days at a time instead of 3 months at a time. Do you help businesses on that front too?
I do, and let me kind of add to that. So not only are they just looking at that, hey, we've got 30 days, so we're good. Let's go get the next 30 and the next 30. But business owners are some of the world's worst of acting like they know something they don't, because they don't want to seem vulnerable. And the worst thing to do on the administrative side of the organization is act like you know what's going on, because 95% of business owners are great operators at what they know about their business.
Yep.
They're not good at the administrative side of their business.
I say I do seminars for businesses. I mean, I think I've said this to you before, but in the last 10 years, I've done over 200 of these things. And I say and I have this slide behind me and I have a picture of a house upside down. And here's the story off that. The worst thing that can happen to somebody in life is success. You've seen it. If a salesperson becomes successful, they lose momentum. Why? Because they stopped doing what they were great at. They started thinking, they stopped the momentum. But it's easy too, if you've had success, to start thinking, because I'm good at making widgets, I'm really smart at everything. And the reason I have the upside down house is I sold a billboard company, made some decent money. Well, I became really good at flipping houses, I thought, because I'd seen HGTV 2 or 3 times, and I made money on the first house I flipped. Guess who lost a lot of money flipping houses? This guy. You know why? I wasn't good at it, but I thought I was. And so a lot of times business owners fall into that category because we're so optimist and we can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Sure.
we go, we'll hard work our way through it, and we don't know a lot of times what we don't know.
That's right.
And we need people that
100%
know
agree.
that. All right, let's wrap this up now that I've given my 2 cents worth. Let's wrap this thing up with this. Any last minute advice to Payroll Protection Program? And is there anything that I did not give you a chance to say about the changes that have happened that you think people need to know?
So really nothing more than what we've talked about on the PPP, except changes will take place, additional changes will take place, and we'll update. The one caveat that I would say is, because the riots, and I'm gonna assume that Clint Powell's broadcast goes 48 states plus. So I'm gonna say this to business owners, local, and if your insurance policy is actually written properly, you would have coverage for riots and civil commotion. And if your insurance policy is written correctly and you've not gotten damage, but the civil authority says shut your business down, you should be paid as if you were open. You need to know those two things.
You just started a whole new podcast. Daggum you, expert once again. All right. On that note, if I can't find my policy, I don't have damage, or I do have damage, whichever category I fall into, call my rep. I'm assuming they'll be able to help me out. But is this one of those times where insurance companies may be a little not, hard? Because I've seen some of your posts. Insurance companies are not always the easiest people to work with.
They're not. In the way, I'll describe it like this, is if you've ever flown into Vegas and you go in, you see all those lights and those casinos out there, all those people are shoving money in tables or machines or something like that. And then every once in a while, somebody hits it big and everybody starts shoving more money into it. That's the insurance industry. Not everybody's going to win the claim, but they want enough to win to keep the things calmed down. And then somebody will win and they'll say it's all right, but there's a host of people out there shoving money in it that don't.
Well, Vegas was not built on winners, sir. Vegas insurance companies are not built on everybody getting claims, Phil.
That's
I can say
exactly
that right now. And what's your part on the insurance part of it? Or do you help people navigate those kind of things?
I help people navigate. Matter of fact, we just bought the domain. So can I announce this right here on
Yeah, absolutely.
Theinsurancearchitect.com.
Look at you.
Yeah. So insurance across all lines is complicated, especially if you're a business owner and you need someone that can help you build the architect of what that insurance is, because that's transferring risk. And then importantly, when you need to use it, the insurance contract pay for the claim because of the way that you built the house.
I'm gonna be honest. This conversation makes me even deeper in my soul realize you and Eric need to talk, because Eric talks with business owners all the time as they start to buy certain types of health insurance or insurance for their employees, that they buy it in a way to where if something does happen, the appropriate parties are responsible and everyone knows what. And the reason I'm bringing that up as a business owner, that's what you want. You want to do it right, so you're not learning the lesson of doing it wrong.
Yeah, and the insurance industry in general doesn't do a good job at all of educating the person that's selling the product
Right.
on how to actually build the product, and then especially how the claims process works. They want to keep that person completely away from it so they can take advantage of the ignorance of the consumer.
Well, and I watch insurance agents that are just like everybody else, are mostly good people, but they get stuck in this sandwich from the pressure from the insurance company, because they're taking the message from the consumer and asking the mothership, and the mothership's not a lot of times giving them the answers. And so they're stuck with the phone calls, but they don't have the answers a lot of times.
Yeah, and the insurance company will say, well, just go sell more. Overcome the claims that we're having to pay. Just go sell more. It's not about take care of what you've got so you retain. It's go sell more.
You know why? Because the insurance company's not going to run into you at the ball field or at the Food City.
That's exactly right.
And somebody wanting to whip your ass. That's why the big insurance company that's, out of Connecticut or wherever, and you're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, they're like, look, just ignore that one and go sell 5 more. And you're like, I go to church with this person. I can't do that. I need help.
That's all right.
Do me a favor. If somebody hears this and wants to find out more how you can help or something, how do they just Facebook, or is there a phone number, a website, or what?
They can go to Facebook page and just hit me up on Facebook. They can go to claimhelpnow.com. And like I said, fill out an intake form, and there's a phone number on there as well that they can call us on.
The riot thing has got me intrigued, dude. I did not know that was even inside insurance claims and insurance policies.
Before we bug off, civil authority, civil riot and commotion, and then the process to actually get the insurance company to pay. There needs to be a podcast on what's called business interruption and extra expense, so that business owners know, here's what I should be getting from the insurance company because of what I have to give them to get it.
How about Monday or Tuesday? Let's do one.
Let's do one Tuesday.
Look at your calendar. You shoot me the best time.
I'll shoot you a message. We'll do
I'll promote that one a little bit. We'll knock it out.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Go make people's lives better. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks, everybody.